legislative is April 8, 2015. We'll stand for the pledge of allegiance and legislative pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Brad, God, we pray that our actions and our decisions be in the best interest of our constituents and our community. Thank you. Roll call.
District 1, Legislator Scuchamara. District 2, Legislator Goldman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adnizio. District 4, Legislator Nasarino. District 6, Legislator Gross. District 7, Legislator Castellano.
Present.
District 8, Legislator LeBeau.
Present.
District 9, Legislator Wright.
Here.
District 5, Chairman Albano.
Here. And now we have our proclamations. April 2015 is Alcohol Awareness Month. Okay, so move on to the next one. April 2015 is Peers Influence Peers Month. Barbara, good morning.
How are you? Good to see you. Peers influence peers. Now, we all know that our youth today is very influenced by their friends. Their friends are all important to them. And our youth today struggle with things that we never heard of when we were growing up, especially when I was growing up. Probably you too. So it's so important that this group, Peers Influence Peers, has done award-winning documentary films on things that challenge our children today, like abuse, bullying, alcohol problems, and now the scourge of Putnam and a lot of counties around here, heroin. And let me tell you, the documentary they made this year, Chasing It, is outstanding. And it's been shown all the high schools in the county. I believe even Haldane is working with Haldane. And when you watch this, you come away a different person. See what these struggles these families have gone through and how they've lost their children to this horrible, horrible substance. So I want to congratulate you on work well done, and the county is making Peers Influence Peers Month in hope that this declaration and a joint effort of all agencies and authorities to encourage young people to help others by encouraging them to live safe and happy lives. And that's what it all boils down to, safe and happy lives. Please, if you want to say a few words.
Yes, well, first of all, I definitely want to thank the legislature because for many years, I think it's like 18 years, you guys have supported us for good times and bad times when things are tough budget-wise. You were always there for us. And fortunately, this year we expanded the program thanks to you again. We now have a program where we right across the street over here in Spain Building on Thursdays, and we meet in Putnam Valley, and we meet at BOCES as well. And interestingly enough, you talked about the scourge of heroin, and one of the statistics that we have referred to in the past is that the United States represents 3.5% of the world's population. And yet we use 95% of the world's opiate supply. Now, I've said in the past that New York State uses 20% of that, which means New York State uses 20% almost of the entire world's opiate supply. 2 weeks ago, Buck and I were up in Albany, only to find out that that number has changed. It's now 35% of the world's opiate supply in New York State.
And there's another fact that we came across while working on this, and it's the most pathetic fact. Every 19 minutes, someone dies from an overdose of an opiate.
So the work we are doing is not over, and we will continue to show the film and gather. One of the things that we do is we gather the resources of the local communities at the viewing of the film, so those who have seen the film, been touched and moved by the film, or informed by it, can reach out to those local organizations that will be present at the film. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Amazing statistics.
Yeah, scary.
Sad.
Wow, it is scary. Okay, next we have April is Teen Driver Safety Awareness Month, legislative Nassarino.
Good evening, I'd like to invite Under Sheriff Pete Conver to join me, along with the officer that was just step forward.
Okay, I have Captain Tom Galati with me of the Road Patrol.
Captain Galati. I'm covered. For the last 3 years, I've had the honor to present this proclamation proclaiming April as Teen Safety Driver and Awareness Month. Each year, I have requested to do so because it is so important to me on so many levels. With spring in the air and the onset of prom season, it is especially important to raise awareness for our young teen drivers. Automobile accidents to our youth population are the #1 cause of death in the United States. Here in Putnam County, we too often experience a tragedy with the death of a teen driver at the wheel, and many of these deaths occur during the spring and summer months. Analysis shows that driver inexperience, unnecessary risk-taking, inattentive driving, cell phones, texting, and the use of alcohol and drugs are some of the major causes. Over 2 decades ago, my niece died in an automobile accident at the hands of a young teen driver under the influence of alcohol. She was only 17 years old, and while she will remain forever young in our hearts, in our minds, we wonder what the path of life would have been had she been given the opportunity to grow into the beautiful woman that we imagine. What career would she have pursued? Would she have been a mom with children of her own today? So many questions and such heartache over a senseless tragedy, yet the conversation remains the same. We know accidents and crash rates can be lowered through education and awareness, through our local police agencies, our school districts, our youth organizations, our churches, and synagogues. As I mentioned last year, and I believe it bears repeating, let us never forget the grieving Putnam County families, the moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, and siblings, whose unbearable heartbreak, and in support of those families, let us heed to preventive measures in memory of those children that died way too soon. And I would just like to read the last resolve of this proclamation, which says, resolve that the Putnam County Executive and Putnam County Legislature do hereby proclaim April 2015 as Teen Driver Safety Awareness Month in Putnam County. We encourage all levels of government, our school districts, law enforcement, churches and synagogues, our youth services organizations, and all the citizens of Putnam County to support programs to promote teen driver safety awareness in Putnam County, thereby protecting our most precious, our children, and precious resources, our children and grandchildren. Signed by County Executive Mary Ellen O'Dowd and Chairman Carl.
Thank you. Okay, if I may, I have Captain Galati here with me on behalf of Sheriff Smith. And gentlemen, the great job you do in Community Cares Coalition. It really is a tragedy, but again, we're in a digital age now. Texting, you have kids don't talk to each other, they text. And you put somebody behind a high horsepower vehicle. We live in a very rural county. You get a little bit of rain, the oil comes up on the road, so it's very dangerous. So we're very, very concerned about that. We do constant compliance checks. We do DWI checks, the captain of the road patrol. We work with the town of Carmel, the town of Kent. We're very vigilant, but again, the education is the key. And again, we live in a great county, but the most horrible thing is going to happen to somebody. You're going to hit a deer. You're not going to be murdered. We live in a very safe county, but the roads are very dangerous, and we have to be very cognizant of that. And I want to thank you, Legislator.
Thank you.
And the county executive and the board for realizing that. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
President's proclamation of the National Safe Boating Month, which I will present. And we have Charlie Melcher here. Charlie?
Sarge? Don't worry, my son.
National Safe Boating Month, whereas recreational boating is a fun and enjoyable sport, albeit an excellent source of relaxation. And whereas, however, boating, to be unprepared, can be a risky sport. And knowledge and skills are important to reduce human error and improve judgment when boating. Be it resolved that Putnam County Executive and Putnam County Legislature will hereby support the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 2015 as National Safe Boating Month in Putnam County and the start of the year-round efforts to promote safe boating. I can say I have boated on Lake Mayapop, which is our fine lake that we use in Putnam. And I've had the experience of dealing with Charlie on a little boat incident, and it really worked out well. It's good to see our boat patrol on the lake, and the people that we have in the community that are really aware of this, and training to the public before they go out is really key. And fortunately, we do have that in Putnam. Charlie, if you'd like to say a few words on that.
Yeah, we're very fortunate in Putnam County. We are rich in our bodies of water, and especially with the Heritage River, the Hudson River, which runs along our shoreline, which now has become a major tourism area, which is bringing great tourist dollars into Putnam County. And I am thrilled, as being a boater my whole life and owning the Hopac Marina for 46 years, that we have the Coast Guard Auxiliary, which patrols our lake and the Hudson River, and the Sheriff's Department. And it's not a question of that they patrol it, but the level at which they do it. They are out there, they're educating everybody, the Sheriff, the Coast Guard Auxiliary, on how to boat safely. And something that's really been in front of our eyes the past couple of years is water safety in general. With all of the swimming areas that we have, with all the small ponds and lakes, it's dramatically important that we talk about basic water safety. And that's something I think we need to keep on our minds. So saying that, whoever would share or post on what would like to speak. Thank you.
This is the first year in New York State. There is now a state law that boaters who are 18 and under must take and pass the state boating class in order to operate a motorized vessel on any body of water. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't aware of that. And the police will be patrolling, especially on the Hudson River, because it's been that way for New Jersey for a number of years. And the New Jersey police for sure will pull you over and give you a ticket if you, number one, if no one has a state boating license, but if you have someone 18 and under, they will definitely be getting a ticket. And it's just make sure that people have the rudimentary facts that they need to know. Simple things, just plain rules of the road for the water. What to do and what not to do. Nothing Einstein, you don't have to have a PhD. Common sense, but if somebody doesn't bring it to your attention, you're not aware of it. And we've been lucky that we've been there 5 times for what we call a Bogan Award, which is an award where lives were saved, and our Flotilla 6-3 was awarded it, and largely due to this very shy and unassuming gentleman next to me, James Gillespie, who is our past division commander, and also he's the lifeblood of the Coast Guard Auxiliary on Lake Mayapop.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, but Sergeant Michael Zabel, commander of our Marine unit.
I think the chairman said it best, that it's better to educate before there's a problem and instead of to answer the problem. And be proactive instead of reactive. We definitely thank all the county legislators for all their support. Last year we were here and there was a bit of a debate of how much support we would do, and you guys were behind us 100%. I want to say that my connections with the state Parks and Recreation has looked at our county as a model agency as far as our initiatives for safety. And they think that it's great that not only the Sheriff's Office, but the legislature, everybody supports us working together. We do safety inspections 4 times throughout the summer. Mayapack and Hudson River and Oscawana Lake. That's just checking out people's stuff before they even get out on the water on a voluntary basis. We're having 3 classes this year for the state motor safety class, the one that's required for boaters under 18 years old. This year we're starting vessel noise inspections on a voluntary basis because we will be enforcing that, especially out on the Mayapack, for a quality of life issue. July will be our youth life jacket initiative. Last year we were out there, I think we were out there handing out some ice cream for any kids wearing life jackets. It was a humongous success. I mean, I was the most popular guy in Mayapack that day. But not only was it a fun day, but it gave us a great opportunity to talk to families about how important it is for their kids to be wearing life jackets, and then the adults too, any other safety angles that we could throw in there. And I think it's good business for our county. It's good, safe boating is good business for our county. We try to work with our businesses as much as we can. But having safe boating is good business for us, which brings in better business for them. If people are not having a safe time out there, our lakes are not going to be popular. That's not what we want. So thank you again. Thank you for all your support.
And you know, let me just say this, we do have the Heritage River, which runs from New York Harbor, which runs always down our coastline, always up into Canada. And the Hudson River is recognized by a lot of Homeland Security people that study this pretty hard as a conduit for drugs and explosives. So when we have our boats out on the Hudson River doing the patrol work, they're not just doing boating safety, they're protecting our country and our way of life on the Hudson River, because a lot of bad stuff can come down in the river, but they know that we're out there enforcing the law and making spot checks in the boats. And I can tell you, they do make spot checks in the boats. My family and I boat on the Hudson River, and we have been stopped and inspected on more than one occasion each year. And I'm proud to be able to say that because boating is safe on the Hudson River, and we're nipping it in the bud. They know there's a good police presence in Putnam County. I stop. Thank you.
April 25th, our safety class on April 25th and May 9th. You can go on PutnamSheriff.com to sign up for those. And if anybody also on the website is the different boat inspection dates. You can call up me at any time. There's always a Marine unit guy working. We will work to your schedule and make it happen for you if those dates don't work out on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say our Coast Guard Auxiliary has been doing this for over 70 years. So great job in conjunction with our Sheriff's Department. We're doing a lot of great. Thank you very much.
Well, I've only been doing 20.
It's a partnership, you can partnership. And that's what's important.
I worked with Zabel, Sergeant Zabel, and it's always been a great relationship. Whenever there's a problem, as you know, we're not law enforcement, but we certainly can get law enforcement there if there's a problem. We were involved in an incident years ago on the Lake Mayapack where we saw something going on. There were 2 drunks, and we called at that time the police department. They came out and they arrested the people, and one of them was wanted for manslaughter. It was our calling the police or the sheriff and working with them. So we are a team, and it's a pleasure to work with this man over here. He's a good guy, and so is Peter. They're people I know, and of course Charlie, he's a member of our flotilla, and he's always there for us. But we want to thank you.
You should all know that the Coast Guard Auxiliary are volunteers. They go out there because they love this stuff and they believe in safe boating. And that should be commended.
Is not only because I was still a veteran of the Merchant Marine, U.S. Merchant Marine, and the United States Navy. I have served in both. Now, this is the 30th service job I'm working. But thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well done.
You had it told now.
Thank you.
younger.
Thank you.
See you, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next proclamation is for National Library Week, April 12th to the 28th. Legislator Anizio.
I would like to invite Jean, and I don't want to mess your name up, and Yuskay. Hi, how are you? I have to first say that I love libraries. I've probably seen all of you. They're all fun. So we'd like to recognize the importance of libraries, as they are the hearts and hubs of their communities and create potential and possibilities within their communities. They provide essential resources, collections, and programs for all ages and demographics. Libraries continuously grow and evolve in meeting the needs of every member of their community. We thank you for that. Librarians are trained professionals who provide their communities with internet access, technology training. They offer services also such as job-seeking resources, homework help, retirement planning, literacy classes, and summer reading programs. To name a few. There's a lot more. We are presenting this proclamation and encouraging all county residents to visit their local libraries to take advantage of the wealth of library resources that our libraries provide. Thank you very much. I'd just like to say thank you very much for all of your support, and also just encourage everybody, if you haven't been to your library, it's not the same as your grandmother's library. We're very different. We have everything. I'm guaranteeing you there's going to be something that you're going to find that you love there. So come on, talk to us. If you have suggestions, give them to us, because we really are the hubs of the community. We're here to give you what you want. So come and say hi and tell us what it is that you want.
I should say Michelle is the
Michelle Capizella, Director of the Mayapack Library. Who is this person?
Hi, I'm Gina Busky. I'm not a library director or on staff, or I'm not a trustee, but like everybody else in this room, I'm a resident of Putnam County, and I'm an avid library user and supporter. And I have to really agree with Michelle that it's your support that really made it possible for libraries to do some of the innovative things they're doing. And I just want to thank all of you for your backup this year, and well, your continued support, because it's my support for many, many years. And I appreciate it very much. And I would join Michelle in inviting you to come in during National Library Week. If you haven't been in your library lately, you're going to discover some new things, and they're wonderful places. Basically, sort of the crossroads of the community. A wonderful, comfortable, big living room where you can feel right at home. So please come in and just be like this.
And librarians are cool.
And I'm Florence Ratty, trustee from the Kent Public Library, and I just wanted to thank the legislature for their continued support of the libraries in Putnam County. And I wanted to tell you, as everybody else has said, we're not just about books anymore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next proclamation is April 2015 as Organ Donation Awareness Month. Legislator Wright.
I'd like to ask Stefan Zagalo to come up, and he has a few representatives with him from the Live on New York, Woodlawn group. April 2015 is proclaimed by the County of Putnam as Organ Donation Awareness Month. Whereas there is a growing need for organ and tissue donors across our nation, whereas New York has the third highest need for donors, yet only 22% of the eligible population over the age of 18 has registered to become an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Whereas the increased public awareness and education of the life-saving benefits of organ donation, an increased number of people who enroll in the New York State Donate Life Registry can hopefully be achieved. Be it resolved that the Putnam County Executive and the Putnam County Legislature designate the month of April as Organ Donation Awareness Month in Putnam County, duly signed by our county executive and our county legislative chairman. And I'd like to invite Stefan to say a few words on behalf of the organization. Congratulations on the great work that you do.
Thank you very much.
And if you'd introduce your fellow compatriots.
So, first of all, I want to say thank you to the legislature for your support, your ongoing support, for Putnam County for stepping up. Because right now in New York State, we do have a crisis. Every 15 hours, a New Yorker dies waiting for life-saving organ transplant. And those are deaths that are necessary because we do have the means, we have the technology, we have the medical advancement to make that stop. The only thing is that, sadly, we heard before, only 22% of New Yorkers are registered as organ donors, which puts us at 50 out of 50 states in terms of people registered. The national average is 47%. Yet in New York, we're only 22%, so we're pushing the national average now. So I'm really thankful that Putnam County is saying, yes, let's change this, let's make this history. I'm very honored today to be joined by two of Putnam County's residents, two Putnam County originals, Janet Ocasio and Jessie Ann Betcher, who are here, are part of our family, of the Living family, are advocates for our cause, but are here thanks to Organ Donation, and I would like you to say a few words.
Sure. I'm a liver transplant recipient. I received the liver 16 years ago, and because of the organ donor shortage, I waited 13 years for a liver. And I did not receive my transplant until I was in ICU, and I only had a few weeks to live. And that shouldn't happen to anyone. In this country, as the need for organ transplants increases, the organs available for transplant remains static, and it has not grown to keep up with the need. It is really extremely sad to see young people and mothers and fathers waiting on a transplant list, not able to get their life-saving treatment and not able to move on with their lives. Because of my transplant, I was able to see my children graduate from high school because I was a young mother at the time. I was able to see my children get married and graduate from college. And I was able to meet my two beautiful grandchildren. And that would not have been possible had I not received that life-saving gift. So that is why I work with the Transplant Support Organization and with Live On New York to promote organ donation awareness throughout Putnam County and Westchester County and anywhere where they'll allow me to speak. I'm very grateful to Putnam County for really taking this position and really pushing and advocating for organ donation. I think this is the greatest county in the United States. So I'm very happy to live here, and I'm very happy that, you know, everyone has been so receptive. Thank you.
I'm also a heart transplant recipient, and I know everyone's here on a Wednesday night and you want to be home having dinner, but I have to say thank you to everyone behind me because this is allowing us to just get a topic that doesn't get talked about, gets it talked about, and just you guys hearing these words tonight makes a difference because it's not words that you often hear. Organ donation, it almost feels like I'm saying a curse word. So I just want to say thank you for allowing this to be a little more public than it normally is. So thank you.
Putnam County thanks Live On New York, and I'd personally like to add that members of my family have been organ recipients, and it's not very often that one human being gets to help another human being with a gift of life. You don't get to achieve that kind of greatness very often, so I'm sure do a better job of taking advantage of it. Our Consumer Affairs Director, Jean Morello.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm here tonight as a personal citizen of Putnam County
I thank you for all you do for the organization, and I applaud the lives that you're living right now. This is very emotional for me. My husband is an expert for a liver. He gave 70% of his liver 11 years ago to his brother. And the reason he had to do that was you were waiting 13 years. You were in ICU. I don't know your full story. But you have to be that sick. And he actually put his own future, his own health. And he's unable to be here tonight because he's not well, but I'm not going to go into the drama. But I want to say that because there are not enough cadaveric, there are times where people actually have to give a part of their own organ. Okay, so there's a lot of sides to this, and there's a bumper sticker. It's my favorite one. It's not a political one. That's Christ. And it's from one of your organizations, and it says, "Please do not take your organs to heaven. Heaven knows we need them here on earth." Okay, and I just ask everybody. I mean, you were fortunate. Some family was unfortunate, but you were fortunate to get a cadaveric. But there are circumstances where cadaveric is not available, and people are actually putting themselves in harm's way. Physicians do no harm, and it was through Westchester Medical Center, and we're glad we had the support and all of those things. But he wouldn't have had to do that, and your families wouldn't have to, if in fact there were enough cadaveric. So again, I'm just asking everybody, please sign that organ donor card, please. And congratulations, and I applaud your life, and may you live a long, happy time, and may you also, continue to do the good work. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for letting me speak.
The next proclamation is April is Alcohol Awareness Month. Let's speak tomorrow.
Joe Mars is not here, so Mike is with him.
We got dressed.
Could you be the fill-in? April is Alcohol Awareness Month. Now, I can bet that everyone in this room either has a family member or an acquaintance or a friend that has been touched by alcoholism. I know my family has. And it was awful growing up with that, facing that problem in my family. 1 out of every 12 adults suffer from alcohol abuse or dependence. Approximately 5,000 youth under the age of 21 die from motor vehicle crashes. As contested with Jimmy's statement, this is tragic. Young people who begin drinking before the age of 15 are 4 times more likely to develop an alcohol dependence. So, let it be resolved as the Putnam County Executive, the Putnam County Legislature do hereby proclaim April 2015 as Alcohol Awareness Month, along with the Putnam County Care Committee, the Care Coalition, and all substance abuse prevention and treatment providers in Putnam County. Encourage all residents to increase their awareness of alcoholism. You're very much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something?
If you don't mind.
I don't mind.
I want to thank County Executive and the Legislature very supportive through all the years to the prevention of alcoholism and substance abuse. And in terms of looking at April as Alcoholism Awareness Month, we've looked a lot about the disease of alcoholism and how it takes away a person's life. It takes away their spirit, it takes away their soul, even when they're still alive. But on the contrary side, when a person gets into recovery and becomes sober, their life, they imagine they attain what their life could only have imagined. And always when we think about the disease of alcoholism, we also think about the recovery of alcoholism. That's what Alcoholism Awareness Month is all about. Thank you very much for recognizing that.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, for the approval of minutes, a regular meeting March 12th, 2015, and a special meeting March 12th, 2015. No motion, okay. Correspondence, county auditor, none. Next we have Economic Development Community Committee, Chairman Luna.
Thank you, Chairman.
of the members of the Economic Development and Energy Committee, legislators Eileen Gill and Steve Mara, make a motion to move the following items forward. Item number 6A, I would like to get an approval to have a memorialization of the NISAC, the New York State Association of Counties resolution recognizing the vital role that industrial development agencies play in New York State, and applauding the important work that IDAs do to create jobs and encourage economic growth.
Discussion? Have a motion? No discussion, first, all in favor?
Aye.
Next item, 6B, I'd like to have approval for the appointment to the Commission for Fiscal Vision and Accountability. Whereas by resolution number 173 of 2014, the Putnam County Legislature created a commission, Fiscal Vision and Accountability, consisting of 11 members. Also, in 2014, the resolution number 173 of 2014, Putnam County Legislature appointed 7 members to that commission. Also in 2014, the resolution 344 of 2014, the Putnam County Legislature appointed 3 members to that commission. Patricia Plummer has recently accepted the invitation to be appointed to the Commission and the Economic Development and Energy Committee. She received the approval of said appointments. Now therefore be it resolved that Patricia Plummer, Town of Patterson, be appointed to the Commission of Fiscal Vision and Accountability.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Becoming a very popular.
Okay, Rules and Enhancements and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, Chairwoman Agnesi.
Thank you, Chairman O'Donnell. On behalf of the members of the Rules Enactments and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, Legislators Goldman and Scutchmara, I make a motion to move the following items. Approval, the reappointment, Region 3, Fish and Wildlife Management Board. Raymond Merlado, Town of Patterson, be reappointed as Sportsman Representative for a 2-year term, expiring December 31st, 2015. And Timothy Keith, Town of Carmel, as Sportsman Alternative Representative for a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2015.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Item 6D, the approval and confirmation of the Putnam County Board of Ethics. The Putnam County Legislature confirms the following reappointment to the Board of Ethics: Kathleen Delamere for a 3-year term, expiring December 31st, 2017.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, Protective Services Committee, Chairman Gross is not here this evening, minor illness, Legislator Nassarino, would you, Mr. Protector for us?
Thank you, Chairman Albano. On behalf of Chairman Roger Gross, myself, and Legislator Goldman, I'd like to move that item 6E, a local law adding a new chapter 497 to the Putnam County Code by allowing for sparkling devices to be excluded from the dangerous fireworks definition as permitted by New York State Criminal Law Section 4B. Sparkling devices are ground-based handheld devices. These devices do not license to the air, do not fire inserts or projectiles into the air, and do not explode or produce an audible cracking type effect. There are 4 different types: the cylindrical foundation, cone foundation, wooden sparklers, dipstick, and novelties, which require approval from novelties which do not require approval from the United States Department of Transportation will not be regulated as explosives, provided that they are manufactured packaged as described below. Party poppers and snappers. These proposed law will sparklers will be permitted and restricted only to sales between June 1st and July 5th and December 26th and January 2nd of each calendar year.
All distributors, manufacturers, and retailers must be licensed in the New York State Department of State, and only those 18 years and older may purchase these products. This is in accordance with Governor Cuomo's signage law, Chapter 477, the laws of 2014, strengthening safety for the provisions for the possession of dangerous fireworks. The law also clarifies and recognizes that certain fireworks should not be labeled dangerous. We also have a letter on file from County Executive Mary Ellen Odell in support, and also we have a letter that was vetted through our Protective Services Committee as well from Sheriff Smith. And in that letter, he also recommends and feels that this law is appropriate to be adopted, this charter change. So therefore, I'd like to move this forward.
Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Personnel Committee, Chairman Nassau.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Navarro. Once again, on behalf of myself and legislators Castellano and Wright, I would like to move forward with the approved transfer from the Sheriff's Department for reclassification of title. This is a title change from the Chief Investigator, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, to Criminal Investigations Captain. I'd like to move that forward. This was discussed in detail with the job description being introduced by the Commissioner, Director of Personnel, Phil Eldridge, so I'd like to move that forward.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. The next item, 6G, is approval of the local law to amend Putnam County Charter to provide procedure for incorporating the salary set for election workers pursuant to Section 3-300 of New York State election law. This local law simply brings our charter in compliance with state law as follows. Transfers are setting salaries of election workers from the legislature to the Commissioner of Elections. Specified dates when the commissioners of the Board of Elections must act for setting salaries, and specifies the appropriation resolutions enacted by the legislature at the budget adopting contains specific amounts for these salaries.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Next we have Health, Social, Economic, Educational, Environmental Committee. Chairwoman Mark.
Thank you. On behalf of legislators Review and Gross, I would like to move the following forward. 6H, approval of budgetary amendment from the Commissioner of Health reallocating a personnel vacancy in the nursing division. The Commissioner of Health has requested a budgetary amendment to reallocate personnel due to a vacancy. He's just moving things around, and there's no fiscal impact. We discussed this in audit.
Discussion?
Move that forward.
All in favor?
Aye. 6I, approval appointment, Putnam County Board of Health, Dr. Raymond Phillips. And if you read his resume, it was pretty amazing. I'd like to move that forward.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. The next is 6J, approval of resolution requesting the New York DEC to implement safety upgrades in the transportation of crude oil. Millions of gallons of volatile crude oil travel through New York every day. Right along the Hudson River, over crumbling bridges, through towns and villages. We must protect our communities and ecosystems. With this resolution, we join numerous other counties, Rockland, Orange, Ulster, Cornwall, Newburgh, and others. We need to reduce or to eliminate these risks. Do I ask this to move forward?
I'd like to comment on that. I think this is something that's just it's not understood. It's a major issue that's right in our backyards that most people aren't aware of. And we really have to pay attention to this issue. I think that last meeting we heard somebody talk from, I guess it was the river people. Somebody said like out of 3,000 bridges, there's one inspector. And when you hear stuff like that, it's hard to believe. You know, I don't know the exact information or numbers, but apparently this is not really being, they're not paying attention. We've got to get on track. So any other discussion?
And also, I just want to add to that, I support this resolution 100%, because one of the other things that were brought to our attention that I didn't know is the type of cars that are transporting the oil also are transporting orange juice. So there's really no safeguards in place, and it's really scary. And that's a lot of infrastructure work has to be done. We need the state to really enforce these safety issues, because if in fact we were to have an explosion, it would be catastrophic, especially for the towns along the Hudson River. And we rely on the Hudson River for tourism, and so it's very, very important. And this is an issue that's just starting to come to the forefront.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Law 26K, approval of a grant application to the Commissioner of Social Services. We're required to have legislation approval for all grant applications. This is a $9,000 grant that they're requesting to apply for, and the monies will go to children centers.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Physical Services Committee, myself and legislators Castellano and Wright. 6L, we have the approval of SECR regarding the agricultural district. It's Putnam County as an agency, and it's been determined that this is a negative effect or environmental adverse effect on the environment. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6M, approval and inclusion of parcels in Putnam County agricultural district. Whereas Resolution 81, 2003, Putnam County Legislative creating an agricultural district, Putnam County of Putnam. And whereas Resolution 193, 2011, the 8th anniversary of formation of the district, Putnam County Legislature modifies the Putnam County agricultural district form. And whereas Resolution 244, 2003, Putnam County Legislature established the month of November in which a landlord may request the inclusion in the Putnam County agricultural district. And whereas we're presented to Putnam County Legislature to modify the agricultural district in Putnam County by including the following: Town of Putnam Valley, tax map number 85-1-24, which is 39.3 acres. Town of Patterson, tax map 23-2-27, 104 acres, 104.47. Town of Phillipstown, Cold Spring Farm, tax map 38-3-2, 85 acres, total acreage 85. Whereas, pursuant to Article 20, letter A, the agricultural market law section 303B, public hearing on request was conducted by Putnam County Legislature on April 8, 2015. Whereas Putnam County Agricultural and Farm Protection Board considered a request for inclusion, reported that the process for inclusion to serve public interest by assisting in maintaining a viable agricultural industry within the district, and recommended the inclusion of said parcels in the Putnam County Agricultural District. And the two said parcels that were recommended were tax map number 85-1-24 and tax map 23-2-27. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6M is approval of New York State DOT grant agreement with the Viper and Bus projects. This is approval of two grants. Basically, it's a 10 state, 10 county, 80% match with the federal government. And we are agreeing to lay out the costs for this, and they'll be reimbursed at the end of the project. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Audit Administration, Chairman Castellano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of legislators Gross and Masserino, I'd like to put forward the following. Item 6O is the approval of the budget amendment for the Commissioner of Finance Vacancy control for January and February of 2015. We do this 6 times a year to correct our books and everything in the correct locations. There's zero fiscal impact. I'd like to move it forward.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
6P is the approval of the budgetary amendment for the Commissioner of Finance contracts with Putnam County golf income. This is to correct our estimates that we're going to receive this summer as a busy season for the golf course up to $20,000. It's a zero fiscal impact, and it's a good thing for Putnam County because we're estimating we're going to receive some sales tax dollars from this facility. I'll let it move forward.
Discussion, all in favor?
6Q is the approval of budgetary amendment for probation, Stop DWI Foundation grant. This is incoming money for Putnam County, and this will help the probation office, which will work with our local police departments and sheriff's department to continue enforcing DWI laws and keeping our roads safe in Putnam County. We think it's a good thing for Putnam County. I'd like to move it forward.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
6R is the approval of fund transfer for the sheriff's department, corrections overtime. We're moving money to cover costs since we're short a person or two in the corrections facility. It's to cover some overtime costs. It's zero fiscal impact. We're just moving money along to pay our employees. And I'd like to move that forward.
Discussion, all in favor?
6S, the approval of local law to amend Chapter 5 of the Putnam County Code entitled Appropriations by adding a new subsection F to Section 5.1. This new subsection reads, except for transfers between utilities and gas budget lines, there shall be no item transferred from any utility or gas budget line which include, but not limited to, electricity, telephone, heating oil, gasoline, natural gas, and propane without the approval of the legislature. Again, we're just trying to make sure we're spending the money in the right places and keeping everything in line. I'd like to move forward.
Discussion, I'd like to make a comment. I'll probably be voting no on this because I don't think it goes far enough. Those particular lines, we had the wordage at the end without the approval of the legislature, which to me is kind of the way it is right now. I think those lines should stay where they are to the end of the year, and if monies need to be moved, we have contingency in other lines. So I think it has the right intention, but it doesn't have enough fight. So for that reason, I'll be voting no. Any other discussion? All in favor? And one no.
You can make that 2 no's. I agree with you, Carl.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, we make it 3 no's.
Okay.
I'll make it one.
All right, we can.
Let's do
Should we go around one more
Yeah,
time?
no, let's do roll call.
Roll
call.
Yeah, let's further discussion before we close. Is that all right, Connie? At this point?
I think it's important to move this forward because I don't think it's right to commingle these lines with any other lines for any other purposes. However, if you feel that way, I think that maybe we can amend this resolution to take that line out because it is true that if we really accomplish nothing, we still provide that flexibility. And I hate for the legislature to be put in a position where a transfer comes through and it is perceived by the department to be a very important transfer, and we're torn between the decision to adhere to our own policy or to move forward with the request before us. So I think it is very important to have these restrictions and then therefore they would not become an issue of whether or not this is something that comes before us in the future. So if we can respectfully table this or amend this resolution to take out that line, I think it accomplishes the objectives that we are putting forth this evening.
So could I make
a motion
to amend the resolution?
No, it's a local law.
To table.
Let's table it. Yeah, I'd like to- okay. So second?
I'll second that. First. Did you make the motion, Carl, table?
I think Julie did.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, second.
Otherwise, I wouldn't second it. So we have to vote on it, right?
Okay. Roll call vote.
So motion to table.
To table.
Yeah.
Legislator Adenizio.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Gross. Legislator LeBeau.
Yes.
Legislator Nasarino.
Yes.
Legislator Scucci-Mara.
Yes.
Legislator Wright.
Yes.
Chairman Albano.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item 6T is the approval of the local law to amend chapter 41, section 41-5 and section 41-10A2A of the Code of Putnam County entitled Deposit and Investment. As discussed in the audit committee meeting earlier last week, this is done by the Commissioner of Finance from time to time. Hasn't been done in a number of years, but he designates the banks and the maximum amount that we can deposit in said banks. For the benefit of everyone to know where we're putting our money. So with that, I'll move it forward.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6U is the approval of the support of Putnam County's limited exemption of sales and use tax on purchases of qualified clothing and footwear during the week of August 21st through August 30th, where we can save some sales tax dollars for our residents and people who are shopping in Putnam County. It's a great time of year to do it, as it's before the school rush, and certainly, hopefully, we bring more people into Putnam County to spend their money here, and we're getting a little tax break at the same time, and I'd like to move this forward.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6D is the approval of a grant application for IT, GIS Round 4 statewide interoperable communications, interoperable communications grant program. This is a grant application that's come in front of us. The deadline is fast approaching, and they approached us and they made a good argument. It's a $3.5 million grant application, and hopefully the state sees in the best interest of Putnam County and that's grant money. So I make a motion to move this forward, because I think it's a great idea and necessary for Putnam County.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you'll note my recusal. My son is a principal at the Grand Tour Agency.
6W is the approval of mobilization of Dutchess County legislatures requesting New York State Legislature to repeal the MTA payroll tax. This is the payroll tax that businesses in Putnam County have to pay, and we feel it's burdensome to the people that live in Putnam County. We'd like to support the Dutchess County legislation.
Discussion? Second. I'd like to make a comment on that. Those of you have comment? Okay. The last place in the world you want to do is tax payroll. It absolutely makes no sense to me. We should encourage payroll. There's a million other places you can tax if they have to make the money, and I really think that any money that's needed should come from the city, not pocket. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6X, along the same lines, approval of mobilization, Dutchess County resolution requesting New York State Legislature to repeal the MTA supplement vehicle registration fee and other fees associated. Again, this we took a quick look at what we pay, and it's over $2 million in the fiscal year of 2013-2014. And we would ask the state legislature to repeal this tax. So I'd like to move that forward as well.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6Y, the approval of litigation settlement that we heard about recently. We have settlement agreement as discussed when people have known about it. So $1.5 million coming back to the people of Putnam County for a previous lawsuit that we had, and we paid out. We paid out $4 million, and we commenced the lawsuit, and we have a settlement agreement in front of us. And it's a great thing for Putnam County to get its money back to us. I'd like to move it forward.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6Z is the approval of another Z, not the Z. Makes a lot of Z. Is the approval of another litigation settlement we discussed last week in audit, and it's a much lesser amount, but at least we have a settlement agreement on it. Unless there's any questions, I'd like to move this one forward as well.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, other business? Anyone?
Chairman, on the last two items, 6Y and 6Z, in my short tenure on the Rules Committee, it was my recollection that, for the most part, the Rules Committee always reviewed litigation settlements, and I think that's a beneficial procedure that should, every attempt at least should be made to adhere to that. In the future, I understand that there is fiscal impact given appropriate corresponding jurisdiction at audit, but the Rules Committee, at least historically, has exercised jurisdiction and some distinct oversight with regard to litigated matters, and I think it's beneficial that all such settlements go through that committee and such other committees as you deem appropriate.
Any comment on that?
Yeah, this was a request for county attorney to bring something before the meeting. Legislature decided first before rules
Okay, so it's.
So it should, I guess in the future, it should go to rules.
Keep that in mind, if you go there, to have that on our minds. Okay.
If I could just also add, audit being the last committee meeting of the month, sometimes time is of the essence and should be in front of audit. I have problems with having in the rules and discussing in other committees as well. In this case, they both landed in audit, and it was discussed in the meeting.
Well, I think the reason, if I could, through the chair, why Legislator Wright brought it up is it gives us an opportunity, especially when we're talking about such a fiscal issue, that it gives us two chances to discuss it, because it's not always clear. It gives you an opportunity to digest the information. When it gets to audit, it's the last round before it comes to the full. And I think it's really important, not just on this matter, but all matters, that they are appropriated to the right committees. So we have enough time to discuss the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Dean. Okay, recognition of the public. Recognition of the public, oh, Ken?
We have our town supervisor.
We were just driving by.
We saw the lights.
We saw the lights up here.
The timing was right.
Listen, police consolidation's not on.
But it's on a lot of people's minds.
I know.
Thank you for bringing it up. Oh, Susie. Let's just move out of here. Okay, recognition of legislators. We've got the tail end of the meeting. Yes.
Okay, I would just like to post the meeting in Mary Street Overfalls with Esther recently. He was a postal clerk at the Worcester Post Office, and if anybody ever frequented the Worcester Post Office, he certainly was because he was a wonderful man. He took quite a tap the other day at the post office and died. People in Worcester Central School District know residents, Patterson, and Brewster frequently go to the post office, just really loved and adored him. So it's a big loss for our community when somebody like that goes so quickly, and it's really part of the fabric of our community. So we do have some concern, and it was a tremendous loss.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, meeting adjourned.
Both meetings.